Welcome, everybody, to the Emerging Screenwriters interview series. Today, we are talking to...
Emily. Hi.
Emily. Emily.
Oh, I also have a last name. It's Wahlund. Okay. Sorry, I'm not just
Good.
Emily.
You're not like Rihanna, where you just...
Rihanna. Yeah, I'm not to that point in my career yet.
Just Emily.
Just Emily. Emily, yeah. No, Emily Wahlund, but you can also just call me Emily. You don't have to refer to me by my full name.
Okay, great. Emily Wahlund.
Yeah.
Emily Wahlund, how are you? Let's first talk about your background.
Okay.
Tell me a little bit about growing up and specifically about, how you got interested in movies or whatever sort of aspect of the industry you started in.
Well, I'm proud to say that when I was a kid, I watched, on average, 6 to 8 hours of television a day.
Great.
It was the 80s. It was a different time. My mom smoked in the car with, the windows rolled up.
Yeah.
It was different back then. And honestly, it's so funny now that having kids of my own and be like, oh, screen time. And I'm just like, I watched so much TV when I was a kid, and all that it did was make me want to work in television.
Right.
And teach me comic timing.
Right.
Seriously. All those old shows like Roseanne and Golden Girls, it's just set up, punch. Set up, punch. And it's just it just teaches you just the rhythm of it. And just
That's true.
So anyway, that is from the start, from a very early age, I loved television. And I knew I wanted to be a part of it somehow. Or be a part of just the screen, what was happening on screen. And I loved movies too. Anyway, so that's the very early start of it.
Yeah.
And then as a kid, I was a natural performer. I loved to ham it up for the crowd. And I continued that, and I studied acting in my teens, then went to college for it. And that's originally why I moved to LA. Although looking back, I was thinking about it, and I was thinking about how even at a very young age, I can remember even in fourth grade, writing these really long dramatic plays for me and my friends to act out with our Barbies, and they were always just oh, we're quadruplets and our parents just died in a car accident and now we must live on our own at 10 years old. It was just
right.
I mean, probably
very
not
cinematic.
Probably not my best work,
right.
but just thinking about how I would do that, and anyway, and I think about
you were always writing.
I was
always focused on acting.
Even though I was focused on acting, and I think that, now being older and looking back, and I think the reason why I didn't follow through more with the writing when I was younger is because I was so afraid of what people would say about it.
Right.
My acting, I never cared if people thought I was a bad actor. Never bothered me.
That's very interesting.
I was just it's just my acting is just it's something I do, and whatever, I'm very confident in it, and I think also because I was a comedic actress, I wasn't this dramatic actress.
Right.
I was maybe people whatever, people might not think I'm funny, and it's fine. But then
But the writing was very personal.
But the writing was so personal, and I felt I couldn't show that to anyone because I was if someone thinks I'm a bad writer, that would be the worst.
Right. Yeah. Then game over. Yeah.
Yes. So I followed acting for a long time. And actually it wasn't until my late 20s when I went through the program at the Groundlings.
Okay.
And where that's very much writing and acting and doing it all. And it wasn't until I graduated from that program when I realized the very ending where I was I don't want to act anymore. I don't have the I need to do this.
Sure.
It was because I found myself wanting to write and wanting to write for other people. I have this great idea for this character for you, and let's work on it. And that's what really set me on the trajectory of just acting is just kind of it's something I still enjoy doing, and it's something I still do from time. I say I only act when provoked, so it's something I still do from time to time. But that was really the turning point for me when I was nope, it's writing, and that's been my focus now for 10 or so years.
So what was that transition though from leaving acting into writing? Where did you start with the writing? Were you writing for the other comedians, or what did you do?
I've always done some kind of writing, even in my mid-20s, I was a stand-up comedian for a long time. So it was I was always writing material, writing things, and just, and I always had ideas and that I was jotting down, or for a long time I had a blog, and it's so I was always, even though I was acting, I was still doing a lot of writing.
Yeah.
But making the full transition to writer, it was scary because I didn't necessarily everyone's well, where's your samples? What do you have? And I was nothing. I've got a lot of ideas. Let's talk about my ideas. But it's I didn't have anything to show for it, and at that point, I remember I pumped out a sample. I mean, in a week or so or whatever. And I showed it to my buddy who was a professional writer, and he's like, okay, look,
It's like,
let's talk. Like, exactly. He's like, look, he's like, I got good news for you. The good news is you're funny, and you can't teach people how to do that.
Yeah.
So that is awesome.
Yeah.
All you need now is structure.
Yeah.
You need to learn structure. And he's like, that's what you need to do. And then we're going to be golden. So he's like, go, like, there's lots of resources. I chose the UCLA program, the Writers Extension program. Okay. And that's where I went and I learned structure and how to write. And that's what really set me off in the direction of just like being able to write like a solid sample, a solid, screenplay, everything. So, I mean, that I am forever indebted to that, because it's like, that was the best advice. Like, yeah, like it's one thing to be like, I love writing, but it's like, do you know the structure? Because that's something that needs to be learned. Right.
When asked, what do you write? If somebody says, well, what do you write? How do you answer that?
I say I write, oh man, that's a good question. I write comedies and horror movies. Yep. And those are my two things. Comedy has always been my first love. And that's ever since I was a little girl. There was something when I think back to, again, I was very young, maybe third grade, when we put on this skit or whatever in our classroom. And in the skit, I had this like I was playing with this old woman or whatever. And then like, for whatever reason, the old woman broke out into song, and the song I chose to broke out into was MC Hammer, You Can't Touch This. And the classroom just like erupted in laughter. Sure. And I was just like, that's it. That's it. That is the feeling I want for the rest of my life. Right. Right there. Yeah. Yeah. And I was like, yeah, there's something about comedy. Like humor and laughter is like the most disarming thing. If you were able to make someone laugh, it's just like, they're just like, oh man, you can say this and this and this and this about that person, but damn, they're funny. Like you just want, like, you like being around them because they're so like, they make you laugh, they make you feel good. So comedy has always been my first love. And I also made the transition, I think, to like horror, because someone once said to me, and I can't remember, I think I learned this back in my acting days, that like, stories are about people at the end of their rope. And that's how I feel. Like, I remember when I was a stand-up, there was like, write like the 10 things like that you're terrified of, write the 10 things that annoy you, and the 10 things you hate. And it's like those strong like emotions, like you can like you can grasp onto those for comedy. Sure. And same with fear. Yeah. Like, I feel like fear is just the opposite end of the coin. It's just like, what terrifies you? Right. And it's just like those really primal things of just like,
it is really, very primal.
Yeah. Like exploring those. And I find that so, easily accessible in both comedy and in horror, because and I know this is a very old saying, but I 100% believe it's true. Like, comedy is just pain plus time. Sure. So comedy is just that deep pain or fear or whatever it is, and just give it some time, and you'll be able to look at it and be like, oh my gosh, this is hilarious. Right. That's true. Yeah. So I like those two genres. They have a very visceral response for me, horror and comedy. And also, I mean, I gotta be honest, like, the reason I'm drawn to horror is because everyone wants to make horror films. Everyone wants to make horror films because they're so profitable. You look at the list of like the top movies of like that like cost this much but made this much. They're all horror movies. Yeah. So I mean, just marketability wise, it's like, if
Yeah, but you can start at a much smaller place.
Exactly.
It's much smaller and simpler with a lot more emotion. Yeah. That you just have to dive into. That's what I write. I write horror too. Oh yeah, and comedy too. So yeah, no, they go together. Exactly. You don't think they do, but they actually go quite well together. Yeah. And if you can write a horror comedy, then you're.
Oh my gosh, yeah. I mean, I think that. I mean, I feel like we're just now starting to dip more into that genre, and I feel like there's a great.
It's being accepted more.
It's always been more. There, but now you're right. It's being accepted more. Yeah. You're right, because I think that that's a lot of fun too. Because I mean, horror is just trope after trope after trope, but it's just like calling that out and like spinning it on its head. It's just like, there's so many fun ways to do it. So.
Okay, so tell me how you were introduced or came into the ISA, about what you won and how that experience was for you.
Maybe 5 or 6 years ago, I was bartending. Okay. And my buddy who I was bartending with, who's forever one of my best buds, one of his friends came in and sitting at the bar and talking, and he was a writer too, and I was talking to him, and he was like, hey, have you ever looked up ISA? And I was like, no, tell me about it. And he was like, they are really great about like posting jobs for writers and just opportunities. And he said, you know, I just feel like that's just a really good in, you know, like really trying to actively find writers' work. And so I was like, okay, great. So I mean, seriously, I went home that night and I looked it up and I was like, oh yeah, you got like, ISA has all these like gig, you know, like all these like looking for this. And so I was like, all right, you know, let's do it. So, and it was also just a really great way to get like kind of a pulse of like what was hot right now or what people were really looking for.
Right.
And then I think when the contest happened, the Table Read Your Screenplay contest happened, yeah, I think I entered it just kind of on a whim. I almost want to say, seriously, I think it was because like, it was like an advertisement like, oh, today, like $20 off, like entry fee. And I was like, $20 off? Sign me up. Cause I love a deal. Right. And yeah, and then that was it. And I still remember like, cause I've entered contests before and it's like, I've gotten to like the semifinals and like the finals and like, you know, it's like, whatever. It's like cool to see your name, but you're kind of like, oh, great, you know, but whatever, someone else is going to win. And I remember the day, I think I just gotten home from a run or something. And I looked at like the email and it was like, oh, grand prize winner, Elizabeth Klein has no friends, Emily Wahlund. And I was just like, no, like, I think I put my phone down and like walked away and then like came back to it because I was just like really? And I was just like, I don't even know. I'm like, I don't know what to do. I don't know what to do with my hands. Like, I was just like, I don't know what to do right now. Like, do I call people and tell them? Like, is this for real? Is this like, anyway, so yeah. And then everything happened after that and it was just absolutely phenomenal. So
from that point, and you had a table read, we did it online. It was absolutely phenomenal. How have you taken that experience and use that moving forward in terms of both your writing and just the business side of things?
Well, it's been great because like it's really, it's helped me, I mean, and ISA has opened up doors as far as like having meetings and, you know, like having shopping agreements and connecting me with producers and potential people that, you know, like can hire me. So yeah, so that's been awesome. And also it's just really, like it's been this thing where it's like, okay, you won, you got like some recognition, you're on this list now, top 25 writers, like use it. This is the time. Like, you know, like you've been given this amazing opportunity. Don't waste it. Like, like now is the time to start creating, to like to really hone in on that project you wanted to do. Yeah. Or, you know, like let's keep the heat going because it's, you know, if you got it, you got to really, you know, ride it for as long as you can. Right. You know, so
what are you writing now?
Right now, well, I'm writing two things. Well, first of all, I work full time. I'm writing for a video game right now. Good. So, I mean, and being employed as a writer, I mean, it's just like, I mean, it's amazing. So, I never thought I'd work in video games, but it's, and this is not like when I tell people I work in video games, I'm like, but it's not like a shooter up video game. It's not like that at all. It's much more, narrative driven and really fun. And it's really a fantastic job and I couldn't be more thrilled to be on this team. So it's like I'm doing that for 8+ hours a day. Yes. And then I'm also working on a this new idea that's kind of generating for me about I really want to explore a new horror movie and I want it to be based around anxiety. I saw what's the movie I saw? Smile, which really inspired me because that movie's a lot about trauma, and I really love in horror movies the whole like allegory thing, like like It Follows. And so I really want to explore like what anxiety does to someone and how it can turn their life into like a prison, basically. So that's what I'm currently working on, and then
just light.
Oh yeah, super. Yeah, exactly. Just easy Friday night with your glass of rosé, just having a good time. Yeah, so I'm working on that, and then I'm finishing up. I actually did do a horror comedy that I wrote with my my buddy who I bartended with years ago, and we're finishing up the marketing materials for that. So working on like a sizzle, and that's a horror comedy, and that is interactive. It's like a choose your own adventure horror comedy. Cool. So we're really excited about that because I also think that's the interactive thing. I feel like that's, even though I don't think we've quite tapped into it yet, I think that's going to be the next thing.
That's awesome.
So,
cool.
Personally.
And if you can figure out how to do that kind of thing in the interactive space, I mean,
yeah, exactly.
Awesome.
And
that's
be like
exciting.
and be like the like one of the first to like start it. I think that'd be super cool. So, so working on a couple things right now.
And you're also a mom.
Yes. And I somehow like pushed out 2 kids and they're still alive and like doing fairly well,
How do you, and I hate to use the word balance because there is no balance.
Yes.
How do you manage that side with working? You're working 8 hours a day. Mm-hmm. How do you manage, or do you not?
One word: grandparents.
Okay. Yes. Support, right?
Support. I mean, really. I mean, my husband and I are so fortunate to have free support. Yes. I mean, and they are. I mean, I don't know how other people do it. So, I mean, we are so
fortunate
that they live super close to us. They are amazing. All about hanging out with the kids. Yeah. And I mean, the majority, because my husband works full time, I work full time, we're trying to balance it out and figure it all out. So like they are there for us to help us. That's awesome. And I mean, that's really how we do it, because if we didn't have them, we would have to pay
I was like, how are you doing this?
Yeah, no, if we didn't have them, like we would have to, our life would look very, very different than it is. Yeah. So that's honestly the only way. I mean, you're right. Balance. It's just like, and my kids are very young. Yeah. And so like they need a lot when they're young. Yeah. They are, guys, newsflash, 2 and 3-year-olds need a lot. Yeah. But and so we're very much in it right now. Uh-huh. So, but also knowing that like it's going to get easier, and someday I won't have to wipe their butt, and they'll be able to get their own cereal, and soon. And also I look at it like soon, like like 10 years down the line, they'll be like looking at me like, please don't act like you know me. Yeah, exactly. Like so.
I know. With my son, I'm like, please don't be a mean teenager to me. He's like, I won't, mommy, I love you. And I'm like, I know.
But then my husband and I like smash cut to like 5 years from now.
And I'm like, I'm hanging out, I'm like, please don't do that. When you're writing, what is your process? Are you somebody who outlines? Are you somebody who just has an idea and then just like starts throwing words on the page? Like how do you work out an idea?
I definitely come up, I'm an outline person. Okay. I'm all about structure in writing and in life. So I'll get like an idea for something, and I'll definitely come up with like different, like, I guess, set pieces, different things where I'm like, okay, like it'd be cool to like have this, or like, what about this character, or like whatever. So as soon as I kind of have like an idea, like a general idea of like a beginning and middle and end, that's when I really start to like, okay, let's break it down a little bit more. Like, what are other like scenes that could go in between here? Other characters, B plots, yeah, so it's very, from this to kind of this, and then I am super detailed with my outlines. I find like if you can write a super detailed outline, then like the actual script writing piece, so much easier. Right. Those people who are just like, oh, I have this idea, fade in, I'm just like
200 pages later.
I know. I'm like that's great for you. Right. My brain doesn't do that. Like I need rules. I need to know where I'm going. Okay. Yes. So I need structure. So I'm very structured and meticulous in my writing.
Good.
Yeah.
And then the other question to get out of the way, where do you see yourself in, let's say, a year from now? And then what is your big picture goal or goals, or just thinking about what do you ultimately want?
In a year, we'll see. It all depends on how this video game does when it's released in May. We'll see if I'm coming on for like the second iteration of it. So we'll see if I'm still working for the amazing company I'm working for now. And then it's Shana, it's so hard to say, because I of course like I have this idea of like, oh, like I would love to sell something, and I would love to be in a writer's room, or I would just love to like, make like a feature. Like I made a short film of one of the horror / thrillers I made, and like it's like, oh, like I'd love to like sell that and like see that into a feature. Like that'd be amazing. But it's just, if this road of being a writer and the road of life has taught me anything, like things, the craziest things could happen. Like, did I ever think I was gonna write for a video game?
Right.
No, never.
Right.
Like,
so you'd say like the big goals are kind of fluid, but are you only a writer, or do you also produce and direct, or is that something like?
okay, I'm not tooting my own horn here. I think I would be an amazing producer because I am super organized and just like, hey, like I'm good at ordering people around. Ask my husband.
If you can manage a 2 and 3-year-old,
yes, if I can manage a 2 and 3-year-old and I manage to like get here like on time with makeup on and like, you know, look clothes, good. Like I'm pretty great. If you ask me, I'm pretty great. So yeah, I think I would, that's something I absolutely like I would love to do. And I almost feel like if I did end up doing it, it would be this like out of nowhere thing where I'd be like, oh,
well, it'll probably be one of your projects. Yes. You just get yourself on as producer, and then you're like, what am I doing? I don't know. No one knows what they're doing, and here we do it.
Exactly. So. That's the thing. And that's the other thing I learned from this industry. No one knows what they're doing. So just smile and keep going. Just keep going. Yeah. One foot in front of the other. So
if you could give your younger self advice, what would you say?
Stop dating assholes.
Okay. Well,
just stop it. Stop it. It is such an epic waste of time. They don't like you.
That is funny.
Stop dating them.
That is not what I expected.
Yeah.
Come out of your mouth.
That is.
Like, I already got it. Here it is. Then go.
Nope. I know. I mean, because I think about it. I think about all the time I wasted on guys who didn't like me. Mm-hmm. And I was like, no, but like, you don't understand. He called me at 1 a.m. to come pick him up at a bar. Like, he called me. He could have called anyone to do that. But he called me, guys.
Right.
I think he loves me. Like, I mean, stop it. Emily, stop it.
That's
like,
funny.
Enough.
That is hilarious.
I just think about all the time I waste, like, just like pining over like people who just like weren't worth it.
Yeah.
Weren't worth it. And I was like, I could have learned to speak Spanish in that time. You know? Like
right. You could have been an astronaut.
Exactly. Like all the things. That's what I have to say to all the young women out there.
Yeah.
Stop dating assholes.
Sweet. I love that.
Just stop it.
So I think that's a great way to end the interview. I'm just going to ask you a couple fun questions.
Oh, all right.
What's your favorite word?
Absolutely.
Okay.
I say absolutely a lot, I've been told, and I use it a lot.
You clearly love it.
Yeah, absolutely.
All right. Good.
Absolutely.
And what are you watching right now?
I'm watching what my children are watching.
Right.
I'm watching a lot of Bluey. I love Bluey. Bluey is amazing.
Ugh.
If you're not watching Bluey, watch Bluey. It is so best. I am crying.
I know.
I'm just like, every episode.
I don't watch it anymore, but when we watch it, I'm like, yes, we're watching Bluey.
I know. It's just like, I mean, like all the stuff my kids watch, it's just like most of it's like, oh my God, kill me.
Yeah.
But I mean, Bluey, like we watch Bluey every night before bed, and it's just like, you know, they love it, and I'm like, I mean, oh my gosh, what is the episode? Sleepy Time. Oh gosh, every time I cry, every time Sleepy Time.
I know, I love it.
Yeah, so we're watching that, and then my kids love like Disney Pixar animated movies. And they go through like phases where like we're only watching this, and we watch this like 2 times a day.
Yes.
So right now we're watching Coco, which again,
okay.
Damn it, Coco! Every time I'm just like, I gotta leave the room. I'm gonna start crying like multiple times, just like Coco every time. So yeah, I mean,
ours at that age was Moana.
Okay, see, so Moana was earlier for us. That's how I knew I was pregnant with my daughter, because my son loved watching Moana when he was like 6 months or whatever, and one day we're watching Moana, and I just start bawling at like the opening song. I'm just like bawling.
Like something's wrong.
I know, and my husband's like, "What's wrong with you?" And I was like, "I don't know." And it's like,
God, I can't believe you got pregnant that fast. No, afterwards. I would have been like, no.
I mean, we knocked him out, but yeah. So it was Moana for a while, and then it was Frozen, and it was Frozen everything.
Yeah.
And so now we moved on to Coco. So now it's all about Coco. So
great.
We'll see what's next.
Encanto?
We did an Encanto phase too. Okay. We did do an Encanto phase. So
yeah, what's next?
I'm hoping Toy Story.
Okay, there you go.
I'm hoping Toy Story is next because I haven't seen it in a while.
Right.
I mean, I say that and now we're gonna be watching it like 5 times a day.
Like,
I mean, it's like I
hate it.
Yeah.
I hate it. And then if you had 3 wishes, what would they be?
Eat whatever I want, never gain weight. That's the first one. To continue being employed as a writer. Mm-hmm. I don't want to bartend anymore. I don't want to do other jobs. Yeah. I just don't. Mm-hmm. I want to keep being, I don't care what the job is. I want to keep writing. And that my kids continue to be happy and healthy.
Good.
That's all I could ask for.
Is there any final words that you want to say? Any advice you want to give other writers?
If you are terrified of writing and spend most days plagued by crippling anxiety and the feelings that you're the worst, it's normal.
Okay, yeah.
It's normal.
Keep going.
Just keep going.
Yeah. Keep
going. Chances are you're not. Yeah. And that's just, self-doubt, and we all have that. as writers, you know, we all look at something and we're just like, this is terrible. This is the worst.
Right.
But I mean, you have to get through the bad stuff to get to the good stuff. Like you have to write it. Write the bad stuff. It's good. Some of it's going to be bad. Not everything's going to come. You're right. It's going to be amazing. And you might fret about it and be like, oh, like I'm so terrible. Stop. Because you keep doing that and you will get to the good stuff. Promise. Good. Yeah.
Perfect. Well, thank you for being here and
my pleasure.
Chatting with us about yourself.
Well, thank you. Thank you for having me. This has been delightful.
Welcome.
Wonderful.
Perfect. That's great.